Hey, YouTube friends, probably BitChute as well. This is the status of my YouTube channel. Okay, so anyway, I've got 2 strikes. They'll be over in March and April. One more and I'm gone. So be it. But I think I'll watch my words somewhat. I think I'll watch my words somewhat. These people are still going on about their ridiculous medical misinformation. They're terrified of some almost, relatively speaking, 0 views compared to anybody else, which is a badge of honor. If you stay at very low views, you're probably doing the right thing as you increase your views. Anyway, that's my status. I thought I'd show you that. I'm back though. They're letting me post, so that's why I'm going to post this content. The content that was removed you can catch on BitChute. I have both of these videos on BitChute if you want to see them. Medical information or not, BitChute seems to allow it. So anyway, I'll switch over to my face. Back with the face. Like John Candy used to do on SCTV, trying to scare the viewer. Hey, Manuel? John Candy, do you remember? Ooh, what was that? Was that Count? What was the Count's name in SCTV? Eugene Levy did the. I think it was Eugene Levy. Anyway, yeah, strikes as you saw. Gotta watch my mouth if I want to still have a YouTube channel. They could actually just go through a lot of my presentations over the last couple of years and just get rid of me. I don't understand why they just do this sort of back and forth. I could push it and start talking about the beer virus in a way that the algorithms would pick up, but all the stuff that's been coming out lately is absolutely showing the validity of the claims by people like myself. I was speaking up against the plan as it unfolded early on within a week. I was savvy to it because I have this innate contrarian position. So generally speaking, that makes you right. If you're a contrarian, it makes you right probably 9 times out of 10, you're going to be right. If you feel like you want to be a person that is correct about the stuff that you understand and you see around you, you just act as a contrarian. You actually oppose the consensual view, whatever that might be at any given time. 9 out of 10 times, you're going to be correct to take the opposite position. It's kind of like a fail. It's proof. It's success. You will be successful every time if you take a contrarian. But well, not every time, let's say, but 9 out of 10 times you're going to be right if you take a contrarian position. So this is why, in terms of art, you're going to be making interesting work if you take a position that is critical of what is understood to be a popular culture. Of course, you need to identify that. You have to be able to see what it is that is referred to as popular culture, whether it's in painting, visual, film, music, writing, whatever that might be, whatever your expertise, whatever it is you decide to develop. The contrarian position will make you right in the sense of identifying what's important. So in terms of the entire episode, the shit show that has occurred, having taken the contrarian position within a week, I think I gave myself a week. I knew probably day one, here they go with something, 2 weeks to flatten the curve. And the idea behind that was so absurd on the level of the rational mind broke down at that point. My rational mind broke down, and I realized there's no way this is going to have any credibility, whatever was being presented to us. So I don't think I've given any misinformation yet. This is just a fact that all of this now is unfolding as it should. for good reason too. I think there is no mystery. The oligarchy, the manipulators, the deviants, the hyenas, the backroom boys, whichever way you want to call them, that take advantage, or as they believe to be taking advantage of the mystery that they have understood to manipulate in some way. And that's really what it's about. It's about being able to manipulate something, and rather than to be a part of it in a, I mean, even the hyenas are a part of it, but I'm saying that to be part of it in terms of this mystery that we're a part of actually benefits by our nature. And I would suggest that the higher self, or the higher part of our nature, will contribute to the mystery in a way that is uh, the way it was set up. Whatever set up this existence that we're in, it innately responds, let me say, responds well to the higher self rather than the lower self. The lower self tends to end up in rather miserable circumstances always. Whenever we apply our lower self to something, whether it's fear or hate or all those emotions that drive the human spirit as much as hope and aspiration, faith, excitement, desire, all the things that make us feel good about ourselves, whatever drives that side, the mystery definitely leans toward that aspect of our nature, that okay, let me call it a positive side of our nature, rather than that the nasty side. Okay, so my commentary today. I'm back. I just cleared my wall. I've got some canvas ready to go. I have some ideas, but it's been a little bit lugubrious and slow. I've got a, what's that on this side? I got a couple of paintings. Maybe I'll leave those in the background. I'll comment with the apple core, the apple core. What did I call it? Apple core legends. Obviously, people that are familiar with modern art and understand Cézanne painted, I wouldn't be surprised if it was hundreds of paintings on apples. He had this thing about apples. And the apples, I think, are a basis for his understanding of modernism. This is what he's called the father of modern art, one of them anyway. And he presented us with a lot of painting of apples. So living in the time that we're in, being a contrarian, I decided to paint apple cores. So we see some apple cores. The apple core legends. Brief explanation. Anyway, there is. I was listening to Matt McKinley's presentation about the what he calls the reality, the fake manipulated reality. It's as real as the other side of it. It's just that it's a very nefarious aspect of reality or existence as we experience it. Matt McKinley focuses on exposing the bastards, which is fabulous. I think he has very astute insights into how this whole experience is actually um, it's not very creative from the point of view that we as individuals are able to contribute to this mystery from our higher self. There is a tendency within this manipulated reality to keep that spirit in the gutter. It's whatever it might take to keep the human spirit on the lowest vibration possible. This is what he's has uncovered and analyzed and understood, I think. Matt McKinley, check him out, Quantum of Conscience. I refer to him quite often, and he spent, I think, almost an hour and a half. I had it going in the background as I'm priming my canvas. I can't listen to him if I'm doing something, actually painting. I generally don't listen to people saying shit, because if I'm focusing on making a painting, I can't really listen. I can't seem to do two things at the same time, like chew bubblegum and hammer a nail. I can't do it. Um, so my comment again, as I've always done. And it throws a blanket in a sense. I like the idea of, of commenting in sort of a bigger picture way. And I think this Matt fellow also would like to be able to incorporate the bigger picture. So you're not dealing with, how many sugars in your coffee. You're dealing with, coffee plantation. It's kind of that feeling of encompassing something larger. And when I look at my uh, experience, the way I I guess the way I live every day, especially from that, remember my position about being a contrarian. You're going to be right 9 out of 10 times. Whatever it is that I perceive that is consensual, even if it is contrarian, if it's consensually contrarian, I also question that, which is kind of it's is it an oxymoron or ironic, something like that. So I question Matt, who's very good at telling people not to investigate with the idea of uncovering really anything, because the way the system works is, I'm synopsizing him here, is they rely on people like him and me, if I so engage in criticizing a system that is totally dysfunctional, it doesn't work. This is in fact part of the programming that is unfolding to understand how it's not working. And what I've always been quite um, perplexed by is how little consequence there is in being able to expose something. So, in other words, all the traditional conspiracies and the theories that have developed around it, most of them turned out to be true. Well, let me put it this way. Most of the ones that I've been interested in actually turn out to be true and are vindicated, just like the shit show is totally vindicated now. It unfolds, and this is part of it. I think this is really part of it. The idea that the people who understand that we're being led by the nose uh, are in fact helping the structure around us to continue in a perverse way. It's again, it's like clever. This is really smart. It's like the people that I identify the numbers involved in revealing to us how structured this thing is, like the gematria people who are able to analyze very random events, like even in sports events, and show how it fits into a pattern of behavior or through the numerical values. This is extraordinary. I mean, how is this possible on such a complex level? And Matt was saying that it's kind of like the body functioning, where you have individual cells that contribute to the whole. We don't, as a functioning body, say, oh, okay, now my digestive cells are going to work all night to digest that steak I had, and hopefully I don't get if I do it too much, I don't get an ulcer or whatever. We have no control on the specific cell, apparently, anyway. We're more focused on the wholeness of the body. So, in the same sense, the system that we are a part of is each individual cell, or the root, or the nature of how we are affected by what we live in is not something we can understand on an individual basis, because we can't really understand how so many people would be in on it. Like if you say the NASA bastards, those fuckers running a show that is so obviously a complete and utter lie about having put anybody on a rock that floats around us somewhere up there, how it was possible to engineer that with so many people involved. They had 40,000 people involved in this fraud that occurred, the moon landing. So the question is, in a lot of people's mind, how is this possible that we could be so misguided about something that makes no sense, or how we could absorb and accept the truth of something, so-called truth, the moving target, when it's on such a level of, as in the shit show, every country does exactly the same thing. Did they get orders from up above somehow? And Matt has a good explanation. It's the same way that our body works, that there are cells that function autonomously, regardless of what it is that we may think. And it does make sense somewhat. I would have to agree with him that this is the complexity of the structure that we're living in, both in the nefarious side and the very optimistic, positive side to us, is very complex. I just thought of another way this, I'll just give a brief, this is a side note. I came across, and it applies, it works within this mystery, how this mystery derails us from recognizing a part of ourselves that is instrumental in shaping the mystery in a direction that is, well, some may even call it enlightenment. That within this format that we're surrounded by part of, there is a movement toward what some of the swamis would like to call enlightenment. And I'm not a fan of swamis, although they are entertaining mostly. Anyway, this idea I came across, I was driving early in the morning, and there was an interview on The Voice for the Man here in Canada called the CBC, complete buffoons. Well, I shouldn't say buffoons. They talk like buffoons, but they're not. It's on purpose. The garbage they present us with is all on purpose, obviously. These large institutions are all part of this nefarious arm that Matt talks about. And this morning there was an interview with, I think, I would say a noble soul, a person who had survived Auschwitz-Birkenau, a woman. She was 94. Her last name was Cohn. I don't remember her first name. I met another woman of the same ilk. They lecture, they talk to kids and larger groups about their experience. Eva Olson, on the level. Phenomenal souls, incredible survivors. Anyway, this woman was talking about the experience that she had, and they brought her up. I must have been on Liberation Day, maybe for Birkenau Auschwitz. I thought it was a little later than January, but it may have been liberated. And it was on the occasion of, I think. They brought it up, they brought her on to talk about her experience. And this older woman, of course, 94, but just sounded quite crisp, was talking about the dangers that the soft evolution of fascism in Germany, how it started to escalate from a very what I think she kind of reflected on it as having been an innocuous sort of situation in early 1930 and 33 when Hitler came to power. And then there was a continuous evolution, a devolution, an increase in the vulgarity of the system, the obscenity of the system, starting to infringe on rights, ending up finally with concentration camps. And these places are documented, people. So all you deniers, these places are documented. And the numbers game is not the issue for me in to discuss the numbers of how many were murdered in these camps. People were murdered. All stripes of people were murdered. Anyway, my point isn't about that specifically. It was this woman, this 94-year-old survivor, talking about her advocacy was to warn people of how easily it was to slip into this kind of an existence, of tyrannical existence, where one person was going to, without thinking twice, be able to kill someone, or have organized camps that would be systematic eradication of a population, and people would just go along with it because it was a good idea. So she was showing us, showing me, showing Canadians that tyranny is a bad thing. So what have we experienced just recently? Last year, the convoy, the trucker convoy, which inspired the entire world of contrarian people who understood that we're up against it when it comes to tyrannies. And tyranny covers itself very easily, cloaks itself behind pretty boys like our Trudeau boy, Mr. Pretty Boy. He is primed, he has been primed and propagated early on by another deviant called his father Pierre, and he ends up in a position of power, and he does exactly what this woman was talking about happened early on in Germany. He has done exactly the same thing. Now, my My consternation was, this is very obvious to anyone that is even in the slightest misgiving about our governments and what they're up to, failed to comment on the fact, obviously it's CBC, but failed to comment that there are parallels that she might have seen. What happened in January of 2022, that she might have alerted people even in the slightest, maybe even a little bit. Take a little detour and say, well, if you're trying to remind people that tyranny is a bad thing, what is it? Just in the Ukraine or Russia or China or wherever you want your pet tyrant to be living in, it could be happening right under our noses. And it would have been very helpful if this woman had mentioned the fact that, well, it really is very disturbing to me. This is if I was her and I had survived this tyranny, if I sniff even a little rat around this, I would have made a comment, at least a little bit. Even if you thought it was like insignificant, that it would end as a Birkenau Auschwitz here in Canada, I would still have ventured to be at least err on the side of caution and say, yes, this is similar to what I experienced. And a lot of people came out during the convoy. I saw a lot of people commenting on the fact that they came from Eastern Europe and they were escaping exactly what it is that we are experiencing in Canada with all the so-called mandates and things. And she didn't open her pie hole on it, which created some distress that morning for me. And I would consider it now, whether it was a blindness because she was so grateful of having arrived in the country that allowed her to become old and have a family and have a decent life. That trauma, that damage can never be erased. But maybe she developed a blind spot around the fact that, oh, the country that took me in and gave me another 70 years of a wholesome existence. I was allowed to live out my life in what I felt was freedom. Now this country has shifted, and she missed the point. I'm considering that possibility, but in a way I was outraged that a person most likely to identify the egregious malfeasance, to say the least, by this government she could not recognize it, and it disturbed me. So I thought I'd bring it up because this comes up quite a bit. I think this is one of the dangers, that when we are grateful for something, we no longer are critical of what we believe to have been given or granted, in a sense. That especially a person like that who suffered so enormously in her formative years. She was a teenager when the entire that shit show, that Nazi shit show happened, and all the people that escape it and end up in a good place have likely a tendency not to see it happening under their noses when it's happening. That's my only explanation. And if it's not that, if she was just somebody the CBC rolled out, she's just a shill. Maybe these types of individuals, who knows? Matt might have an opinion on how these people present themselves as legitimate observers of reality, saying never again, never again, but then it's happening again and your pie hole's closed. Anyway, I didn't like it, but yeah. So there is a real what is my point here? Okay, I'm not going to dwell too long. I'm going to just comment a little bit. My favorite topic is the mystery, because I deal with it. I deal with it from the point of view of an inner world. This is what I said. This is how I comment on people who analyze the reality or understand the reality, sort of like the idea of the matrix, which comes up a lot, which appears to identify how we're trapped in something until we are red-pilled, and we just continued. So this idea of red pilling is front and center for people in the community, community that Matt frequents. I'm not sure how buddies. He seems to be very isolated from people. Like I even heard Owen Benjamin refer to him. Owen seems to like some of the things he says. I definitely like some of the things Owen says, although I believe him to be a complete and utter narcissist. Nothing that he can ever rectify becomes, because I think he comes out of a system that formed him, that formulated him. His formative years, whatever that might have been, were reinforced when he was in Hollywood for 20 years, how long he spent there. And it's almost impossible um, to negate that. I know another Hollywood personality, someone that I came across that has a similar trait. As well-meaning as he might be, that narcissism doesn't go away. It's ingrained. It becomes ingrained. It's virtually impossible. I'm not sure what kind of an enema you need to take in order to get rid of the narcissism. It would have to be a substantial one. It would have to be sort of like a bucket of humble pie of some sort. Um, and it doesn't mean these people aren't pummeled. I mean, I think Owen Benjamin takes a lot of abuse. He's pummeled, but he needs to get a wholesome enema of humble pie of some kind. But um, my observation, my thought on proceeding, and especially at a time, there seems to be a bit of a lull. I perceive a bit of a lull. This is a bit frightening to me because the bastards really don't like to give us time off. The bastards really enjoy making sure we're up against it all the time. I mean, when I say lull, the suffering is increasing on many different levels, especially through the economic side of things. I think what I perceive now, the shit show was a lead up into creating economic difficulties, which ultimately a lot of people suggest this Ukraine-Russia thing could escalate. Personally, I don't think so, into a nuclear confrontation or something, but there is a lot of consternation and analysis and fear around this being pushed. And when, like Celente says, when they have no other option, they take the world to war. That's the suffering in that would be by a factor of, would increase by a factor of, if we agree with this. Now, people have to agree with it, obviously. This is inside this mystery. This is what I appreciate so much, that it's all by agreement. It's not like being, oh, you're pushed around and you end up in a camp. It starts with agreements. And I think the agreements happen on a very small level. Like you kind of close your eyes to events. Your conscience says one thing, and generally speaking, a country even closes down their conscience and goes along with stuff like we've seen now with the shit show. This is an exercise in seeing how far people will deny their, first of all, I would say their conscience. It's not rational or irrational behavior. It's the conscience that is actually attacked in all of these events. That's what I think is basically happening, because the greatest success the bastards have is if people don't exercise their conscience. That's how it works. Whether you love humanity or not, if you don't have exercise your conscience, you're going to be in the shitter, as we've seen. So the approach, the comment that I have today is personal development is everything within this mystery. Well, obviously, we can relate to a clan. We have a tribe. We relate that way, and obviously there is an effect that we have as a group. But I think ultimately it's the personal choices make all the difference. It feels like a drop in the bucket, but ultimately that concept of personal choice and personal direction on multiple as this perpetuates itself, this level of conscience as it increases in the population, there is no way the bastards have a chance of doing anything. This is how it works. And I give Matt, Quantum of Conscience guy, credit, because I think somewhere, the reason I believe he posts is to actually establish some kind of a personal responsibility, or to wake people up. No, that's not possible. To show people that personal responsibility is ultimately the way things change. He doesn't talk about it too often. He does refer to, he likes his Hannibal Lecter thing about look inside, what's her name? Whoever, Jodie, what's her name? Yeah. She's supposed to look inside herself to find the answer. He refers to this. So he understands. But most of his focus is always on the external world, never on that internal world, although he talks about it. So my commentary, as I'm back on YouTube, and I'll put this on BitChute as well. That this level of personal development is the highest part of how the mystery functions within us, like our personal development. Do we go and acquiesce to the easy solutions that are presented to us? Do we comply with the man when the man is clearly on the leading us down a path, or do we make our own decisions on a daily basis that reinforce this development of us within this mystery? And it's in my mind, it's very rewarding. I think that, like, for in a personal sense, my my direction in the last 40, 50 years now, more than 50 years, has been this inner, allowing that inner world to emerge through my painting. Like what you see, the paintings are a representation of letting that inner world establish itself. It's um, it's not so much to create like the history of modern art as it is to create a personal history that shows me I'm on a path that feels right. And my own personal choice here has been making images, making paintings, whichever way I do them. Some may think they're fabulous, some may think they're just stupid and makes no sense. But for me, it is the bigger picture of me making certain choices every day. And I think that's what ultimately our success as as the human family goes in this bigger picture. This will be our success. How each individual more and more becomes representative of within this mystery, becomes themselves implanting themselves, whichever way that works, implanting themselves on this mystery. This makes a lot of sense to me. It's like, okay, people hold up art because you can hijack the art, make it very expensive, and then nobody, it's like, oh, it's unreachable. But like that idea of everybody having their contribution toward this, they help me, they just don't help themselves. It's like, I help myself, but other people are helped as well when they look at my paintings, to be inspired or to be appreciative or to enjoy, or whatever that takes, that completes this really positive side within our experience of this mystery. And the bastards and reptiles want to undermine this at every possibility. The way Matt analyzes it very well, I think he's very good. There's many other people who look at the external world and analyze it really well. There are very few people who analyze the internal world very well. And the rabbi said it quite well when he said the kingdom of heaven is within. I refer to this over and over again. And the swamis and gurus pretend, because there is a whole dogma of internal life. The dogma of internalism doesn't work. Each person has their own individual footprint in this mystery. So to create a dogma around it in any form, I don't care how much of a guru and swami somebody might be, they would never actually venture out into the world swaminizing anybody or anything, because there is no explanation other than to act your conscience. Each swami should educate people on how they could possibly improve on acting their conscience. I think that's ultimately it. Like, the swaminess of swaminisms would ultimately rest on this position, I would say. That if you're able to help a person, well, through example, obviously, but help a person become more honest within themselves to act their conscience, this would be the ultimate gift a Swami could make. And all they do is talk about, love and, they give all the kind of pathways to higher selfness. But that would be my conclusion. Anyway, I'll end it here. I'm back. I didn't talk about all the medical stuff today, and I'm not giving YouTube any reason to cancel me, although they could do it at any moment, because there are many videos that I've done in the past that would qualify much more than the ones that you censored me for. And you could do it. I'm telling you, you could do it. I guess for whatever reason, you've decided to let me operate. And today you'd be very proud of me, YouTube, because I didn't talk about the shit show the way I did on the other videos. You discouraged me from doing that for the time being, but the facts are coming out more and more how much of a shit show this has been. I guess I'm ending on the shit show. Anyway, point is I'm ending it here. I'll be back again if they don't throw me off. I have 2 strikes. The next one I'm gone. So you'll have to catch me at BitChute. If I disappear on YouTube, I'll continue over on BitChute.